All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to committee of the whole meeting for Monday, March the 23rd at 6 o'clock. And I'll remind everyone that this meeting is being recorded for our public viewing pleasure. And with that, do I have a motion to adopt this evening's agenda? So moved by Councilor Glenn, seconded by Deputy Mayor Alinas. Questions to the motion? Seeing no questions, all in favor? Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Remind everyone there's conflict of interest forms in the cabinet. If you have any conflict of interest this evening, please pass them into the clerk and state the reasons. And with that, we're going to move on to item number 4, item 4.1, presentation by MB Power. And welcome to the podium.
Thank you. Good work for you.
Yes, it does. Good evening, Mayor Campbell and Council. My name is Karina Sparks. I am a project manager with MB Power. I am leading the first major STATCOM project in New Brunswick. And I'm here today to understand your questions and to answer them, to see and to understand if you have any concerns. And if today we don't have any, if we cannot answer your questions, I will take them to my team and I will get back to you later next week. I am also here to explain you what is the STATCOM and why we are doing it and what it means for your community to have this project built in our Salisbury terminal. So being said that, I want to explain you what is STATCOM. And as you can see here, STATCOM stands for Static Synchronous Compensator. The STATCOM is a piece of electronic equipment that keeps the electricity system's voltage steady, specifically during unexpected events like outages and or equipment failure. So when we have this type of events, like as I said, or an outage or equipment failure, for example, if a power line or a generator going out, what happens is that the voltage start dropping. And if the voltage is dropping fast, some customers are or can lose power. So this is when STATCOM comes or will come in place, because STATCOM will react fast. It's the fastest technology that we currently have in the market. It's almost instantly that the STATCOM will react and will support the voltage. And not only that, but with also support on the automatic load shedding. Something very important that I want to communicate today is that STATCOM does not generate electricity or watts. STATCOM also does not store energy. So it's not like a battery. What it does is that STATCOM simply provides stability to our power system, and that allows the power to keep flowing safely. So this piece of technology will be installed in MB Power's Salisbury terminal in our property. And the project, as I mentioned before, will add stability and reliability to our power grid. That is the main objective of this project. So today, I will give you a project overview. what is the background, what is the current situation of the project, what are the risks if we don't build the project. I will explain about other alternatives because we carefully review 3 different alternatives that are available currently on the market. And we will review the timelines, and one of the most important slides is why this project matters for the community. So to give you a background on the project, NP Power is making necessary investments to ensure future reliability on our electrical system. We need to build capacity to generate electricity to ensure New Brunswickers have power when they need it. And with the growing demand for electricity in southern New Brunswick, there is a need for voltage stability. What is the current situation? Southern New Brunswick is growing, and right now the grid does not have enough fast-in voltage support to respond to some events without relying on automatic load shedding. So I want to take a minute to explain you because I don't know if you understand, but under voltage load shedding, perfect. So under voltage load shedding, it's an automatic protection that is inbuilt or programmed in our power system. And what it does is temporarily shut off the power to a small number of customers, okay? Or also some areas. So it's part of the control system that we have for our power grid. And as I said, we carefully have all programmed. And what we do is that we utilize these load shedding as the last line of defense. So, and I want to talk later, for example, about our regulation that is, we utilize the NERC standards, the North American Electric Reliability Standards. So they are getting more strict with us, and this is what they are not allowing us to go with under voltage load shedding. And this is what we are implementing this project because we don't want to rely on the load shedding. And we needed to find some other solution. And I'm so glad to tell you that this project is going to cover that, as I said, mostly with voltage stability, because that will help the grid and that will prevent to utilize the load shedding. Okay. The grid always changing with more renewable generation, higher power transfers, and shifting generation patterns. The grid becomes more sensitive to voltage issues in unexpected outages or equipment failures. I don't know if you know, and maybe I'm getting ahead of your questions, but I think it's very important for you to understand as well that because we are adding wind and solar, the renewables energy to our grid, and that is positive, but at the same time, electrically, it's
No base load.
exactly. And what happened is that because it depends on weather condition, right? So when the outputs go into the grid, it also causes instability because if they have to remove, if the wind stop blowing and they have to, remove immediately the support of the wind power to our grid, that will cause some instability on the voltage to our grid. So for that reason, we need devices like the STATCOM that definitely will support on have that steady voltage strengthen and supporting the reliability of the grid. Okay. So what are the benefits of this project? This project is a proven technology that operates reliable. So as I said, as I mentioned before, we went through a very good exercise reviewing what technologies are available currently in the market. And this one is the latest, and I want to say not the latest technology, but the fastest. Okay, so because exactly as I was explaining earlier, we need the technology that reacts as fast as possible to avoid the load shedding and to avoid for customers to lose power and to avoid equipment failure. So we had currently other technologies, and actually I think NV Power has installed, for example, synchronous compensators before, and we do have them, but this technology is the fastest that most of utilities are going with now. As I mentioned before, this technology strengthens the local grid and provides support to improve power quality and productivity. It can be easily integrated into both new and existing grid infrastructure. It helps to reduce or expand in the power network. It meets all required grid code standards. The modular design allows for flexibility and a small physical footprint. That is key because, again, this is all power electronics. I think I've mentioned at the beginning, this is an electronic equipment, not electrical equipment. And because it's electronic, it's it downsized compared to, for example, static power compensator that was an older technology, where the footprint is almost double bigger than this one. So that is definitely an advantage of this project. It produces low levels of audible and electrical noise, and this is another good point because we also completed an environmental assessment at the beginning of the project. And we found that the project will not emit noise because the only equipment that will be out is one transformer. All the electronics are going to be inside. It's a building that we have, and all the electronics will be inside the building. Very well protected. We don't expect any sound from outside. It has some sound inside the building, but it's not very low neither. And we also have a cooling pump because the STATCOM has a cooling system that will keep all the electronic equipment very cold because that is one of the main requisites for the project. But the cooling pump shouldn't, it would not be too noisy neither. All the noise levels are under or below, the standard.
It'd be comparable to what's there now.
Exactly, because today, and I found that we have 3 transformers currently in our Salisbury terminal. So one more.
Yeah.
And it's, so our STATCOM also will be farther. It will not be too immediately
Adjacent.
adjacent to our existing. We are building it a little bit, away,
Yep.
because we are also giving some room, maybe for a second or third new bay in case, we needed another extension. So for your information, the StatCom will be closer to, I think it's Ailes Road. And we are going to put a new gate right there. So another reason is because, during construction, we want to avoid all the traffic going into the existing terminal. So utilizing that new entrance for the StatCom project will be beneficial, not only, as I said, for the construction, but we don't want to be interfering with existing equipment and all our contractors have to go all the way there. So instead, we are planning on the way that, our entrance will be right from Ailes Road straight for the StatCom. That would be right by the road.
Did I understand correctly that MB Power has similar technology, but this is the first time that you're installing this technology?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, we have, I'm trying to read more. We have a synchronous condenser, installed in, I don't remember the station, the substation, but we have a
Okay.
couple, I believe, of them.
Mhm.
They are very good technology, and I will explain a little bit later,
Okay.
but they are double the price.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, it's, it also depends, what do you need, okay? Because some of them, they also have different properties. For example, this one, the synchronous condenser will also add, inertia to the grid. We didn't need that here. We only need voltage support on this area. And, this is why we don't need, to pay more if we don't have to, right? The investment is very high, so we definitely, have chosen this one because it's not just the fastest, the newest technology, but also the most economical in the market now. So it really makes sense when we evaluated those, three technologies that are currently in the market, but this one is the one that, definitely, as I said, most of utilities are going to go with StatCom now. I heard, Hydro One, for example, in Ontario, they are right behind us. They are, going to, install 5 of them, I heard.
Okay.
And, yeah, I think this technology, the more, is going to be very, very popular in the next few years.
Does the size of the StatCom you're planning on installing here, does that also coincide with the potential Atlantic Loop or the link from Nova Scotia Furrow to Salisbury? Is that capacity also taking into account those transmission lines that are coming in?
Yes, definitely. We are working very closely with that project.
Yeah.
As you might know, we have different, major projects happening at this time with MB Power. We are very, very close working together. Actually, we have a meeting between the Intertie. There is another project that is going to happen here as well. What is the phase shifter? They are moving, and I don't know if you know, but phase shifter is like a transformer, just to give you an idea, but it's another, electrical equipment that is going to be moved from Northton. And they are going to be moving that equipment here at Salisbury, and that is happening later this summer.
So that's stepping up from 3-phase to a higher voltage?
I think it's in the same voltage. I think it's on the 138 kV.
Okay.
But it's the same, but it's just the location. I think because what happened is that at MB Power, we are doing all planning studies all the time, and you might wonder, where these projects come from. Again, I'm taking over your questions. But, so this project, for example, my project, the StatCom and the phase shift there and other projects, are a result of the 2023 planning, system planning. So we do regularly, and in my knowledge, the 2023 system planning is the latest that we have. We will normally plan from 5 or 10 years, and we always plan to be in compliance with the NERC, the reliability standards that are established by the North American Electrical Reliability Corporation.
I have lots of questions, but I'll stay there.
Okay. So what are the risks if we don't do this project? Okay. So MB Power could risk not meeting the required reliability and regulatory standards. I think I've said this before, but MB Power is required to comply with mandatory reliability standards, which are established by North American Electric Reliability Corporation, the NERC, which are enforced all across Canada and United States. These standards exist to ensure the power system can operate safely, okay, and reliable. So we have to follow them, and this is what I've mentioned before. The planning system that we do is to follow also these regulations. Voltage performance issues could lead to widespread service interruptions across parts of Atlantic Canada. Another very important thing to explain here is that we also we are also connected to PEI, Nova Scotia, PEI, and
Right.
you know, Bathurst. So maybe one of your questions is, why do we want to do the project here? Okay, why do we choose? Is that one of your questions?
Yeah. Yes. Why Salisbury?
Yeah, exactly. Thank
Yep.
you. So just to explain you, Salisbury is like the hub, okay, the power hub. I'm so glad to tell you, so you have to repeat this. Salisbury, it's kind of the one that connects all, you know, all the substations, because as I said, we are connected to and sending power, transmission power to Bathurst and then Nova Scotia. You mentioned the Intertie project that we are currently working on, also to PEI, and we are also connected. From here, we connected and have our transmission system that goes to St. John and Fredericton. So this is why we call this area the power hub. And yeah, I got to learn when I was studying, so it's good to talk. Yeah.
We like to know that we're important.
I've always known.
We've been calling this like the hub for many, many years.
It's nice to be reinforced.
Yeah, also the power hub. Good.
So if Tantramar and Sackville don't want the natural gas plant, can we bring it here?
Oh dear. I'll say no.
Development. Next.
Rita's got her project, she's gonna. I did your back, Rita, you're good.
Right, okay. Yeah, so this is a little bit background information, but I thought it's important to show you and I believe you will know even more than me. So if you can see in this first graphic, since 2015, the New Brunswick population has increased approximately 12%. So as you can see in the graphic, we grew from 760,000 to approximately 800,000 in 2024. So this is a big increase that has happened in the last 5 years. So in this graphic, we can observe that in 2004, a peak of demand record happened of 3,326 megawatts. And that was, and that year happened because we, at that point, we had a couple of I think it was industrial plants that they are currently closed, and they were closed a couple of years ago. So the demand was way higher. One of them was Dalhousie,
Mhm.
and the other one, I think it was in Grand Falls, okay? But so after 2 or 3 years of 2004, those are closed. But what happened, on the other hand, and you can see here, is that population start growing very much. And as you can see, in the last 5 years, you can see how much the peak has grown, population. So on January of 2024, 2022, we have experienced another record of 3,347 megawatts, which was surpassed by the following year on February 2023 with another peak of 3,442,
42,
thank you, megawatts.
and that was the -50 day.
So very good point. And again, you might wonder why we had, and this is, I found this graphic very interesting to show you, because you might wonder like why those 2 years and why the 1 year down. To show you, this is the demand, and what happened, for example, in the lower point here, that was a winter, the winter of 2022, the lower, okay? And it was the winter when we had the COVID, and you can tell it was a mild winter and COVID hit it. So definitely that is why you might wonder that demand is very low. But then the following 2 points is the ones I just explained, to give you an idea with this graphic now. The January 2022 is showing the 3,347, and the other even higher is the February 2023 with the highest demand show in our grid of 3,442 megawatts.
But even 3,442 megawatts is only 3% higher than the 3,030,
300.
yeah.
So good point, and I definitely have the number here. You know, we are trying to keep our safe number on 3,000. I don't know if you knew that. That wasn't the number I was given because I'm asking all the questions before, you know, to get prepared. I was giving the 3,000 just to give you an idea. What is the safe number for NV Power to operate? They told me that we definitely had gone to load shedding on these 2 numbers because they are high. But again, just to keep a safe number for us, is the 3,000. and all depending what we have, right? Like you might wondering how can we keep the 3,000, but sometimes it could be even hard for us to keep that number because, maintenance on, that could happen, maintenance on LeBron and the wind is not blowing and it's so amazing to tell you, I don't know if you know, but I've recently heard if the wind is so high, we cannot utilize wind power.
Yeah, to shut down.
Exactly. Or if it's too cold, I heard they are not operating during very cold days neither. So I mean, it's so good to understand all of these and how we, as MB Power, we need to operate because, yeah, I don't think most of us, as I said, I'm also learning. But it's very good to understand how the power system works and what we need to improve. And as I said, mostly for this project to show you how we want to improve our reliability or the reliability for the system. This is the next one. It's a good one. And again, maybe it's more than me. Moncton is being named one of the fastest growing metropolitan areas in Canada by Statistics Canada for 2 years, 2022 and 2023. This graph is showing that again, the population is growing, so the load is growing, specifically in this Moncton area. So although this is very positive for the region, electrically, Moncton lacks from conventional generation and also dynamic reactive support sources for our power grid. So this is putting some strain in our system. This is why we are proposing the projects that, Okay, next. This is another good graphic that, even though it's more technical, I want to explain you. So this is the steady voltage performance. And what specifically is showing, this is the peak that happened on 2023. Do you remember on the other slides that was the highest, right? So it's shown on this graphic. So this is the voltage on the 345 kV buses, and it should be maintained at 1 unit per voltage to ensure that the sufficient margin to work with the contingency events. So what happened is that during this peak, as you can observe on the graphic, the voltage is going almost even just above the 0.95, okay? And this is very low on the acceptable. So at this point, we definitely will have, again, to start with the load shedding and yes, and the protections that we have. Okay, next one is, and I think I was talking before about the other alternatives that we have reviewed for the project. We have studied these 3 different alternatives, as I mentioned before. STATCOM is the option number 1, but we also review the static VAR compensators, and we also review the synchronous condensers, okay? Just to compare, because I have talked to you guys about the StatCom to compare on what is the static VAR compensator. This is a bigger, larger footprint. It's also based on electronics, but is lower in reaction, okay? As I explained you, StatCom would be the fastest. Static VAR compensators are lower reacting and they are more expensive. They are an older technology, and this is what I believe that we are not preferring something like that. Of course, you know, if it's bigger, less like slower reaction and more expensive, no. So we didn't decide for that one. So the next technology we review is the synchronous condensers, and I've mentioned before, we do, as NV Power, we do have some of them. They are good when we need inertia in the power grid. In this case, we didn't need that. They are different because they are mechanical equipment, so it means they have the rotating parts, different than the StatCom that is based on electronics. They require very high maintenance because they are mechanical. And the key thing is that they are almost double the price. They are very, very expensive. Oh, sorry. I just want to say quickly, yeah, for that reason, we have chosen to install a 300 MVAR StatCom at the Salisbury terminal. Okay. So the three options for the dynamic support project were reviewed, and we have class 4 estimates that they were presented to the Energy New Brunswick Energy Utilities Board. We were approved by them on July last year, on July 2025. 3 major projects from NV Power were approved. One of them is the StatCom. And as you might know, also the Electricity Act requires NV New Brunswick Utility Board approval of power capital projects that are higher than 50 million. So this is what we went through the process of approval. Okay, so what are our priorities? What are the project activities? You might wonder, where is the project at this point? I'm so happy to tell you that we are on our planning phase. Last year, when we initiated the project, we were not going to go into the next stage until we get the EUB approval. EUB approval is, of course, we cannot move further if we don't have that. So after we got approval last year, as I said, end of or summer last year, we moved into the planning phase. So completed activities that I have listed here. EUB approval, we also awarded a vendor. I'm very happy to communicate that we are working with Hitachi. Hitachi is one of the leaders, if not the leader for this technology. There are not many vendors currently in the market, but we received proposals from 4 of them, and Hitachi was the front runner, the best technology and the best price. So we have selected, we have issued a PO to them end of October last year. We are also working with Stantec Engineering for the yard extension because we need to extend, we need to install breakers, we need to extend the bus, for the transmission part, we need to do some, yard extension, so Stantec Engineering is, working on that detailed engineering. We have also started with, the vegetation clearing that was completed last year in November. What, this year and the following year, we are planning to complete the detailed engineering for the terminal extension. We are also planning to complete the detailed engineering for the STATCOM with Hitachi. We are going to award, construction, contractor because we are planning to start construction activities, this fall. And non-stop for the next 2 years. Yeah, I will explain in a minute more. For 2028, we are planning to complete the factory acceptance tests for transformers, factory acceptance test for the STATCOM, the commissioning and the training for operations and maintenance. Construction activities at Salisbury Terminal. I mentioned previously, we completed the vegetation clearing. We are going to start with grading, roads, fencing, foundations, starting this fall. And we have planned construction activities for the terminal extension starting next year, maybe April or May next year. And we are going to be completing all construction activities maybe by the fall of 2028. Right after, we are planning to start the commissioning and the project is planning to be completed by end of 2028.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
I don't know the location, I'm trying to picture it, and maybe ask you right now.
The Ailes Road, like,
Road is, I was curious if there's gonna be any interruption to our trail system.
no, so it's off, the trail is, the reason we have to ask NB Power for permission to do anything on it is because the trail basically leads to, like, if you're leaving from Salisbury and going right to where we end, if you look on your left, like, you can see the existing infrastructure that's there.
Right.
So it's in that vicinity. NB Power owns a whole bunch of property.
Just curious if this would interrupt the trail system as far as like.
No, it's just traffic wise, maybe, but
Yeah,
otherwise, no.
because that section of the trail is owned by the town
Yeah.
beside this, so it's the immediately adjacent property.
We might want to put some.
Yeah, we could look at that, It's all fenced in too, and I assume this project will be too, but it's definitely, yeah, we could look at that. I don't know how far back this, if it's visible or not, like, but, yes.
I just assume they'll come in. Or and cross the trail to get there, right? Like they'll come in and up Ailes.
They would cross Ailes Road, and then when you cross Ailes, you would see it, in that case, coming back to Salisbury, it'd be on your right. Yeah. We can look at that and see what we can do.
I assume NB Power put up construction signs and whatnot.
Yeah,
Signs.
Good one, thank you. So next, what does this matter? The STATCOM project will be located at New Brunswick Power's existing Salisbury terminal in the town of Salisbury. The project strengthens the electrical system that serves Salisbury and the surrounding areas. The project will improve reliability for the power system, businesses, and essential services. The power will also improve voltage stability, support future growth and development in the community. Construction will mostly take place at the existing substation, minimizing any impacts to the town and nearby residents. If you need to contact us, we are going to leave here. This is my email, and I have also included Elizabeth's email here. And we are also creating a project's email address. I'm sorry it's not here because we just created a couple of days ago. The email is statcom@mbpower.com. I'm sorry, as I say, it's not updated because we recently created, but I will appreciate if you take note of that. We want to make it so easy. Another update is that we are also in the process of creating a website or a project update in our NB Power website, where we are going to be updating about the project. And yeah, if you have questions or comments, please refer to that. I can share maybe
We can circulate that after, for sure,
Yes.
yeah. for sure.
yeah, please. And also, I want to propose that we are happy to come back and speak to the next elected council if you require that, or to give, I don't know, maybe every 6 months, 8 months, or once a year updates. We will be very happy to come back anytime. I just want to say thank you so much and open questions.
Not for today specifically, but you mentioned that there's gonna be, for the low emission, for the noise, there's gonna be buildings that will house within this facility.
Yes.
That's good. I guess my question, because they alluded to the roads and everything else, anytime you have these type of facilities, it becomes a target for thieves.
Yes.
Particularly when you get into rural areas. So that would be just I know you'll have security, and you'll have all of those things.
Yeah.
But my biggest concern for our community is it going to bring in that element specifically coming here to target that, because there's a high amount of money involved. We see that with cell phone towers, anything where people can come in and steal. My only thing would be, I'm nervous that makes us more vulnerable to even power outages. You see it in areas where they steal copper on cell phone towers, where then the areas lose their internet. That would be a really concern on it, that there's sufficient security and sufficient fencing, or, which I know there will be. That's why I'm not concerned as we go through the project, but.
Yes, very good point. We will have security on the building, like it will require access
Yeah.
with
I assume.
with cards, but you were right, we will have fencing, it has fence, under fence, something like that. But yes, I agree, we have to be very, very diligent with, and not only when it's during operation, but also during construction, because, during construction, everything
Yeah.
will be there, and we are thinking about 24/7, physical security, like at
Yeah.
Yes, we are considering that.
And those would be the things that maybe over time could be communicated with the future council and our office, just on the local impact economically on a project like this, whether it be for, awarding tenders to local companies or companies that are gonna be working in this area.
Okay.
It'd be good to know. Just from a positive aspects of these things, I think Councilor Dexter alluded to the fact that, we want investment in our community, we want jobs in our community. So anything we can socialize like that's a good thing.
It might be nice to have the end of year updates, like, because it's gonna be a 3-year project.
Yeah.
Because we could be getting some concerns from residents that we could be asking you
Good.
some questions about.
Yeah.
Any additional questions, Councilman?
I just have one.
Only one?
No,
Oh, I have a litany.
He's been asking for it, so.
I'm just curious, do you have a estimated timeline for the New Brunswick Nova Scotia link? As to when that project will proceed?
The only part that I know that it's related to Salisbury, they are going to build control room, like control room,
Yeah.
like a control building. And they are starting now in May till almost summer to build. I only know about that part.
Because I assume some of the transmission lines that are going to be run between here and Truro will need some land purchasing or leasing to be able to facilitate those towers.
Yeah, I think they are in the process of doing that,
I
but
think they're already, like, I
What?
know of some people that it's already, the land acquisitions have already been executed.
And the project team for that, every now and then the town would get like when it was going through the environmental impact assessment, we would get an update basically just saying they're at this stage with land acquisition is usually one. I'll go back and look at the last one. We saw this project from when it was going to the EUB and, when the site clearing tender, that's when we saw, what is this project and what is that dollar value? So,
We started texting back and forth at 11:45.
when we got that, yeah, so that's,
Get them
the,
in.
the transmission project, though, we can look at the latest, EIA update that they gave us, because I'm pretty sure that they gave an update on land acquisition, I think, Councilor Graham, I think it's almost
There's
done.
gonna be a lot of impact just from the bringing all that equipment in.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of big equipment, all positive, just,
Mhm.
there is an impact.
Okay,
Lovely, thank you very much.
thank you very much,
Thank you.
very much appreciated.
Thank you very much for joining us, all three of you, and also, I do want to give a shout out that your team has been very helpful to get this project, arranged, and our account specialist, or I don't know what her title is, but Robin has been super helpful too, we hound Robin, and she hounds you guys, and whomever else at MB Power, so, we've been hounding MB Power's crew on a few different things lately, so, we appreciate it, we appreciate your willingness to come out too, it's helpful for us.
anytime, I mean, as I said, we can come back too. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you, see you, thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
we're gonna move on to item 4.2, presentation of violence and harassment policy.
So as council knows, we've been doing an ongoing review of our overall health and safety program, we're calling it with, WorkSafe New Brunswick. We're doing this in partnership with one of WorkSafe's health and safety consultants, where they basically handhold us, step by step to make sure that not only we're compliant, but that we have the necessary procedures, policies, safety checks and balances in place across the board. The town, did it proactively, so it's not not a premise of, we had a WorkSafe inspector come and issue an order, but since this has gone on, we've often referenced our inspector, Ron. When he comes back, he'll be so impressed to see everything that's in place, but this is the next step in that. So historically and still now, technically, the town has what was an overarching health and safety policy. It included most different elements in the Occupational Health and Safety Act that were required. So it included our provisions for PPE, our provisions for violence and harassment, our provisions on the general health and safety policy, all of those things in one. WorkSafe's preference is to have them split out for different things because they're all required under different sections of the Occupational Health and Safety Act. So council approved a number of months ago, I don't exactly remember when, the health and safety policy. So now what is left in the actual health and safety policy is essentially these components. In the, what is going to be proposed is the violence and harassment policy. So this meets the requirements of the Occupational Health and Safety Act, is very similar to what we already have in place, with the exception that includes a risk assessment. So at any point, we need to provide evidence to a WorkSafe inspector that a risk assessment has been done with respect to violence and harassment. There's a number of different triggers in the act that require that assessment, but the easiest for us is that we work with the public. So that automatically requires that assessment to be done. So that has been done in partnership with WorkSafe, which is basically an appendix to the policy. Council will see that there's a clause in there that will allow the assessment to be updated as new risks and hazards are introduced. And that just makes sure that we don't have to come to council every single time that we have to update one of those. So every time there's a new SOP updated or a new hazard identified, we don't have to bring it back to council each and every time. The overall policy is adopted by council, and then through the policy is that discretion is provided to us in partnership with WorkSafe, basically. So the policy as proposed, like I mentioned, it was done in consultation with WorkSafe, very similar to what we have done, and builds on some of those other steps that we've completed. So health and safety policy, like I mentioned, our emergency communication procedures, our health and safety boards, our working alone code of practice and risk assessment, our incident report forms, hazard report forms, accident report forms. We're starting to implement working alone tools and software that's required to be in place, our monthly WorkSafe inspections or workplace inspections, our minimum mandatory training amongst all positions, which we're slowly but surely rolling out and getting completed. And then we're in the final stages of finalizing our students' health and safety orientation to kind of beef that up as we're getting ready to onboard them in the coming months. So those are the steps that we've taken to date. This is just the next step. And then assuming council is prepared to ratify at our next meeting, we will technically repeal the existing health and safety policy because it includes this and adopt this as a standalone policy. And then we will be all compliant in terms of what needs to be adopted at the council table. Everything else is what I would say is operational in nature. You'll even see in here, there's a number of SOPs that have to be drafted, so they're noted in red, which we're working on in partnership with both staff and WorkSafe. So with that, there's a recommendation on the floor, and I'm happy to answer any specific questions the council may have.
Somebody read the motion, please.
I'll move that council approve the proposed violence and harassment policy in principle for ratification at a future meeting of council.
Seconded.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Blinas, seconded by Councillor Thorne. Questions to the motion? See no questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. With that, we'll move on to item 4.3. Yeah, direction for 2026 capital projects.
So as council has seen in the package, we are, and as the agenda item name suggests, looking for direction on 2026 capital projects. Council will probably recall, we generally have to have a question or a conversation of this nature around this time. It's been in March or April the last couple of years around capital projects because projects have closed over estimated budget. So this year, our largest capital project is the extension of storm and sidewalk on River Road. It's been a project that's been on the books for a number of years on previous CCBF projects. It's been in the queue for PMHP funding from the province. And ultimately, they last year made an exception so the town could complete the work this year in advance of them starting the P380 bridge next year. So the project essentially includes storm from where it currently ends under the road, extends it to the bridge basically, and brings sidewalk for the majority of that as well. That will go to where DTI will bring sidewalk next year, basically, when that bridge project commences. So they made that exception under that premise that we could bring our project up to where they will start and end when they start that work in 2027. So that project, we had an estimated an engineered OPC going into budget season. And with the assessment freeze and the number of changes that we made to our capital program for this year, we essentially got the direction to prioritize that and keep that funding there. And we anticipated to have to come back with a direction saying the project closed over budget. Trevor and I could have wagered bets and it would not have been at the tendered price. So the tender closed a couple of weeks ago now on the 12th, I think was the date, and ultimately closed significantly under budget. So that was a big win. And it was a public tender opening, I will say, and was a bit challenging to keep our composure when we started opening them and we're thinking this can't be right. But it is good news. So with that, we're looking for direction from council basically. The question has been put out to NBDTI requesting that they make our usual funding allowance. So the project the storm component is eligible for 75% funding from DTI. We're requesting that they put that up to 90, which is what a lot of our former PMHP projects were funded at. So we sent that in, we haven't heard back yet. But we've gone ahead and kind of shown what that looks like with respect to our capital plan. Basically, this project is a village-specific subunit expense. So that's why it is a little bit of a domino effect in terms of if we quote unquote leave money on the table, it has other implications in terms of how we try to allocate some of our funding dollars. So that includes CCBF dollars and the operating budget. So in the end, we've tried to put some numbers down and say, what does this look like in the grand scheme of things? We're ultimately looking for direction to make sure that in principle, this is what council would like to proceed with, which is in essence, obviously we will bring forward a recommendation for this project. That doesn't change. We'll do that in April. But we're proposing that we tender for a series of trail projects actually, but one being that we're calling it the East Trail right now, but that will connect the ATV trail to the wetlands behind the treatment plant, but also provide the connection to the future elementary school and the detour to the existing trail so that it can connect to the sidewalk when the P380 bridge starts to get replaced next year. And tender that. And then we would recommend an award, and as long as, let's say that it's close to the OPC amounts, then we would still have funding on the table. So basically, we've chatted amongst ourselves. We're still quite early in the year. There's contingencies in these projects, obviously, but who knows what will happen. And also, the reality is that we would not be able to design, tender, and award a net new project before the May 10th election. It's just not possible to get that done. So we basically came up with what our opinion was on a series of options. One was allocate funding towards street resurfacing, which as council remembers, that's essentially what got cut this year. The second one is look at putting this towards the land purchase that the province has, that we've entered into agreement for with the province to lower the debenture. The third being put it towards a potential municipal facility that's unconfirmed but continues to be discussed in closed session, and I'll repeat, can't be discussed here yet, but it is an option that will have an eventual expense more than likely for the municipality. And all of those are options post-May, just as much as they are options today. So at this point, our recommendation is that we proceed with the capital plan as amended, knowing that there will be a decision of the new council, if council agrees with that recommendation post-May. And then at that point, we'll have awarded all of the projects. Hypothetically, we'll have known generally what any escalations might be, what any use of contingency might be, and would be in a better position to know our overall financial picture at that point. So that's my spiel. There's a recommendation on the floor, and then happy to answer any questions or any specifics that council might want to dive into. We did our best to try to highlight what the numbers look like in terms of what some of the switches are, in terms of what that means for inside, outside, increased CCBF allocation for shared assets and what have you, but I'm happy to answer any questions that council may have if we were to speak.
Motion on the floor, please.
I'll move that the town council directs staff to undertake the revised 2026 capital plan as presented based on preliminary unofficial tendered results and continue to keep council updated as projects and tenders processes progress.
Seconded by Councillor Dykstra, seconded by Councillor Glant. Questions to the motion?
Can you explain your statement on CCBF funding is contingent on a certain level of expenditures?
Is that in the report or what I said out loud?
You said it out loud.
So the piece, it's not contingent on that, it's that, so right now, when we bring our CCBF, when we brought the 5-year CCBF plan to council, we tried to show these are funding for shared assets, this is funding for former village assets. So it's not a requirement for us to do that, but when we brought the 5-year plan, we wanted to show how, like Roxborough Court last year was a former LSD project, trail work is a shared asset, so we tried to show those. Ultimately, within this context, what this would mean is that a lot of money was allocated towards River Road, so we're able to basically take that because we can cover more from our operating budget and basically put that towards the trail instead, which is a shared asset. That's the premise of it, is that we're this would allow us to put more CCBF funding towards shared projects as opposed to River Road, basically.
So you're saying that CCBF funding is only allocatable to certain projects?
No, it's not. It's just that we try to be intentional and show council that we're not putting it just towards village projects, basically. Like, so, we have a lot allocated to River Road in the plan, but this will allow us to put it towards trails essentially, which are shared. It's CCBS pretty flexible. So like roads, Culvert got money last year from it, Roxborough Court got money from it, the municipal building got money from it.
So
There's pretty much everything under the sun.
because that's a significant increase in the trail budget for this year. Is that money not able to be moved towards like reserve or for a future project?
It can be, so that funding can be, so the other piece that I should mention too is that part of this we have some money right now, and so for example, that section behind Douglas Street, we have money sitting in for the trail, we have, shouldn't say Douglas Street, Braemar to behind the school basically, to get us to Douglas Street.
Yeah.
That money's sitting in reserves from 2024. Yeah, the year before last. So that money would essentially sit there, as it has been, and it would come out of this instead. The funding that's left over is not taking from anywhere per se. And if council wants to allocate it towards one of the other projects that we mentioned, it would go into reserves basically is what we would do.
Because my only commentary is based on what the provincial budget and funding situation of the province is. It may be more prudent to reduce the scope of the trail expansion because funding, I suspect in the future has become a little bit more
100%.
sparse.
100%. Just trying to look here to see quickly. So that amount as an example is like, we're limited in what we can put in and take out for operating reserves. That amount, if hypothetically, if we put let's say the whole chunk of change, that would put us pretty much right there. So, we could hypothetically do that if you're talking about operating reserves. Is that what you're talking about?
I'm not gonna pretend to know where money.
Okay, fair enough.
The
Yeah.
forecast for funding in the future seems to be
Correct.
poor.
Yeah, 100%. So
That's where I question the validity of that big of a trail expansion that will maybe leave us wanting some funds in the future that we will not have.
part of this would still get, it's under the assumption or the premise that GMB would still kick in under their existing programs, which that department did not see cuts last week or week before. So
if they don't kick in, we don't do.
we wouldn't, that's correct.
If they don't kick in, we don't do.
I'm not even suggesting.
You're thinking
over the
moving
next 12
forward,
years.
right? Yeah.
It's the second, third and fourth year.
Yeah,
Because again, a $6 billion deficit over 3 years is
right,
astronomical.
right.
And more cuts will be coming.
I will say the same piece that I'll say always, if someone else we don't take this money, someone else will.
Fair,
The
fair.
funding for our trail, right?
I'm
The other piece is that this is not a change to our capital plan, right? So it's items,
It's already.
it's items we kicked down the road for that same reason, right? So we're in I don't wanna say the opposite position that we expected to be in at budget time, but at budget time, we kicked down street resurfacing and the trail and said, we can't do this because of the provincial budget. And then this budget closed under budget and the RDC funding is still there. Now, saying that, RDC has been very clear that they will have less money because they're allocating some towards housing priorities. So, they basically told us, prepare one application and that the trail and the sidewalk piece is really, and they're connected, are the only ones that we're doing this year that would fit RDC's community
Can you repeat
development.
that? 'Cause I lost my train of thought when you said that.
So the RDC's said basically pick one project and submit. Like the last few years, we've had 3, 4, 5, 6 at any given time, some large, some small.
Because if housing is an option,
It's not, we're also getting some of that pot of money.
Yeah.
So they're two, they still have what is called the community development fund community development fund or community investment fund. I forget which one's which. Some of that they're putting housing and tariffs. Those are two.
housing and tariff.
Tariffs. Yeah, so the provincial tariff relief
Money moved over to tariffs.
Yeah.
Last year.
and last year
Year before.
I can't remember, recently. So they
For business or?
I think so.
It's to allocate to help businesses impacted by tariffs.
Yeah, it's to match federal dollars, like a COA dollars.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's been allocated or how, would they put it in reserve basically they've taken away some of the community development, slide swings, happy things, that kind of stuff. So, they still have that pot of money, it's just less. So they said, put in one application, basically, because they will not be able to approve multiple in 1 year. So there's some others on here that have housing money, as well. So, but those are already approved and signed, so they can't take those back. But there's none on here that have community development funding for this year. So that's the argument, is that they're ready to consider that. And it's under their cabinet approval. They generally have been, favorable for us for those requests. So I don't see them being any different this year. And ultimately, we know their budget wasn't cut, so we won't take no for an answer, is the reality.
Just to clarify,
Mhm.
we can do all the trail stuff that you talked about.
If the
Right.
project yes.
And it would still, assuming everything closes at estimate,
Mhm.
we'll still have $350,000.
Correct, yes,
To be
yeah.
able to put into reserve
Correct.
or to another project later in the year.
So that assumes a number of things. One, that RDC comes in, that province comes in at 90%.
Which we will, once we know all of that.
Right, and that's why we're looking for direction now, like ultimately, we're going to get the trail designed, it's gonna be on our plan anyways, so we've given that direction, it's a sake of. If council's like, no, we don't wanna do it, we don't wanna tender it, because contractors put in a lot of work, and if we get a reputation of doing that, they don't bid, so we always have to be careful with that, so as long as we have the intent of considering an award, if the project is what we expect, then, that's why we want that direction to kind of proceed with tendering it. But yes, it would still leave that after the trail, as long as the province pays 90%, they come in for the trail, cost sharing, and it doesn't close significantly over budget.
And this would essentially complete the trails that we had planned to do.
Yeah, our 10-year plan. Yeah, and then some, and then
I
some.
appreciate that 100%. My only question, I guess, is there the original 433,000 for the trail, to me, I just don't see the necessary need to try to get it all completed this year if there are other or better avenues for those funds.
So that
I'm not saying no, I'm just saying,
I know what you mean.
is there no better project that could be funded towards?
So at budget time, when we were trying to balance the numbers and we were looking for direction on some of those capital projects, we basically it wasn't that specific construction budget, but it was the amount that was coming from the town. We basically put whatever it was to balance that, to make it a shared expense, so a shared operated capital expense. And maybe we didn't highlight it enough, but like that wasn't the full amount. We just said, we'll put that under the assumption that hopefully we'll be able to find other funding throughout the year.
Finish.
Correct, yeah, to get it up to the actual realistic number, and then we'll do that plus the exception that we have the funding that's sitting in reserves for back there that would just continue to sit there, like that's included in that total number.
So the next council after May, sorry,
It's okay.
next council after May will have a little bit of funds there to approve some projects.
Yeah, or decide what to do with it, basically,
That
yeah,
makes me happy.
yeah.
I wasn't at the Trail Towns meeting last week, but I'm wondering if once we do this and we complete this section of trail, are we then ready for hookup with the regional trail, like?
Yeah.
because
Good question.
Each municipality.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say we're quite ready there yet, cause there's no like firm determination of when or where it will go, but I
Yeah.
think what Mark was kind of talking about last year is that there's no reason that we can't look at like sub-regional options in the
Right.
meantime, like there's those options. He's well aware of this plan though, and knows like what our intent is.
Implications of it are, yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I heard talk that there are some municipalities who are gonna be ready before some of the shoreline municipalities are
Yeah.
gonna be ready, so there's talk of like, we can hook them up.
Yeah,
So I'm intrigued by that, and
It-
are we setting us up for great success regionally?
it was the first
I
time
think we are.
that I've heard him say that before, like, the conversation has always been, we'll get shoreline finished
Yeah.
first, and then we'll start working out here.
Yeah,
It was the first time on Wednesday night that I had heard him say, well, maybe we could consider, so maybe that's what he was thinking.
Okay, nice.
Potentially, but he's been, well, he started that
Yeah.
initial trail plan.
Kudos
a long
to
time ago.
for everybody who was there,
Yeah.
because It was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
People showed up.
Yeah,
That's really nice.
yeah, so yeah, it was, it was good, and I think I don't wanna say it gets ready to just like plug and play into the trail
No, but
network,
we're more,
but it definitely, yes,
we're like in advance of some other municipalities.
100%, yeah.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
100%. It also, we say that in all of our funding applications, to say that eventually this will connect to the,
Yeah.
like, we always,
Yes.
we toot that horn a little bit, or a lot bit, I guess.
A lot of it.
Yeah, it's a lot, yeah, a lot.
If we don't get 90%.
Mhm.
What would the damage be to that?
It's not significant because we still get 76, and it's a bit of going back to that, to give you a firm number, I don't know, because it's a domino effect of shared village funding, CCBF funding, and shared operating funding that we have to like rejig and move around. And we can show those numbers, like the other thing that's a little bit complicated too is that the PMHP funding gives like a one-time, like their funding comes after April 1.
Right.
We've already paid some design, including from last year. There's projects here that there's costs here that are partially from like last fiscal year, basically, we take those costs out. So those costs are already spent. So even if they're only paying 76%, they're also paying that percent on what we paid last year, which is not shown here. So it actually works out to more than 76%, even if they don't approve the 90.
Similar number.
Similar, it won't be quite as high, but it's,
Be very much lower.
yeah, it won't be a noticeable impact. Like, it's not like we're gonna say 353,000 to 5,000.
Right.
Like, it might go 353 to, if I like go super conservative, 253, 300, like, that's like what I would expect.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's a positive.
Yeah, it is good news. Like,
Why did it be so low?
it was the pipe cost that, was high, in the engineered estimate. So, cause we asked the same question. They have had no projects that have closed this year. But our position on that was like, well, this was the OPC. We also had it from 2 engineering firms, cause we had an OPC done for a funding application by a different firm. Yes,
Wow.
yeah, very close. So,
Questioning the-
yeah. And sometimes you get a bid like this and we come to council and we say like, we're recommending to the lowest bidder, but it's like, they're half the price of everybody else, and it's a little bit worrisome. It's not the case here. Like, we had 9 bidders. A lot of interest, and all prices were comparable, including for the pipe where our estimate was high, where the engineer's estimate was high. The other thing that is there, we include a contingency in our estimates, which is included there, but it's only 50,000, I think, so it doesn't make up anywhere near the difference. And the other piece is that we expected excavation costs to be really high. So a lot of times when there's concrete work, they inflate the excavation costs because you need to do excavation. You can't cut back and save money on an excavation. You have to do that. So they know that if they add those numbers, we won't come back to them with cost savings. So we found those to be quite high in tenders recently, which seem to have, in these tenders, have gone kind of back to normal per se. So I would attribute it to those 2 things, pipe costs and excavation.
So it's competitive. They're not busy.
I don't know for sure if that's
Really busy.
it. No, it would be, that's normally what we would assume.
You're early in the season and.
We're the
Yeah.
first municipal project to close out of the cities had 1, I think, which is,
Expensive,
that's,
everything is,
The market's soft.
yeah.
the market is very soft.
We also got a call from one of the bidders that said DTI's projects are slim in the area this year, which the road ahead plan does not reflect. Like, we'll send that this Wednesday. There's a lot of DTI projects in the neighborhood, it seems like, but
They're waiting.
that's what one bidder mentioned. And the same bidder mentioned Bucktouche, I think he said.
Hoping they're gonna soften them up some more with the lack of.
Potentially, yeah, but Bucktouche had over 10, so maybe it was 10 or it was 11 maybe, bidders on a project recently, so it seems to be the trend. There's also some that we would have expected to bid on this project that, in particular in the pavement world, that did not bid, so it's not like it's 9 frequent flyers, there's a couple new ones, and then some of the usual.
Oil prices,
It could very well be, so.
they're scared to make a bid.
Yeah,
Hmm,
yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah. If there's sometimes though, some of them, like if there's not enough pavement, they're just not interested, like they know there'll be enough that will come out.
It's,
Yeah,
because the oil prices are so,
but they'll bid on pavement elsewhere, so the only pavement here is the restoration on the shoulder, so like some of them, that's their bread and butter.
Yeah.
Some are like, I think, no,
I think there's a lot of uncertainty, and you're gonna get a lot of just, it's just gonna be a difficult year for it.
well, that worked out for us.
Yeah,
This particular project, yes, absolutely.
That worked out for us.
I have a question that's not really related to whether we do the trail piece or not.
But in general,
The River Road work. Is the alignment of the road changing for the bridge or?
Yes.
that's a great question for DTI, that,
I thought this was all done in
It has to.
conjunction with DTI.
so DTI is involved in our design, so what?
They're using the old,
Yeah, what?
but they're using the old bridge as the temporary bridge, so there's no other way to put another bridge on top of a bridge.
That's the easiest way to put it, yeah, so,
I knew that, I just
Yeah.
wondered where's it going?
I don't think that's
That's correct.
something we should be talking about.
yeah, what I can say though is that we've been working with DTI for our project endpoint to go to there. So there's been an agreement between the town and DTI to say, we're stopping here and you're coming to here next year. To Councilor Dykstra's point, the bridge is expected to stay open during construction, and there's slight expropriation necessary, but no
Just where
property.
where land's involved, we should not be talking.
Yeah,
about that
there's no-
publicly Until,
No
DTI.
physical structures to our knowledge, so that can tell you that it's a slight. But that's subject to change, so.
right,
They're at about 90% design, I would say, so, that's where they're at now, say, what we could say. But we're in constant conversation.
that's why, from the public perspective, people need to realize that these things overnight, when there's engineering and land involved,
Mhm.
different than on Main Street that took an extra year to get the land.
Right.
Land can take time
Mhm.
to go through,
Address.
and it's confidential until it becomes signed.
That's right, that's right.
Okay, with that, all in favor on the motion, very minded. Motion carried. Moving on to item 5, closed, there's no closed this evening. Moving on.
4.4, we have.
Oh, sorry, 4.4, sorry, Regional Service Committee, yeah, just a quick one. Gerard Bellavo has obviously, worked with many of you here. He's retiring tomorrow night. We're going to give well wishes on behalf of our council. And so the second item won't be for in depth tonight, but, it was brought up at the previous council meeting just on, garbage pickup. The amount of complaints we've been getting, it's continued to escalate, particularly on the blue bag days with circular material. So I have chatted with Austin a little bit about it, around, having a discussion, with Sebastian at the Service Commission, just on a couple of items. But then working on sometime in the near future, a public session on continued education, having the public come out for a forum, because, we've had some, what I would call some very reasonable residents that have reached out.
Not just river gladers?
Not just for religion. It's not just our region, it's just everywhere. By that, with change and everything else, it just comes with education. And there's some people on both ends of the spectrum that are unreasonable, others that are reasonable, and somewhere in between. And on that, it's very hard. To be honest with you, every Thursday I get inundated and slammed with.
Usually every second Thursday.
Every second, I get inundated and slammed, which the clerk's office has seen some of them. And in some cases, there has been some reasonable ends of things, other times it's not reasonable. So it's somewhere in the middle, and by that, like anything, we have to just ensure that we roll out proper education. And on the cases where some things are being rejected, being able to answer that factually and not get into this, so.
I think I'll jump in on that too, just because we're gonna have an initial conversation with them. I brought it up at the administrators meeting last week as well. We're not the only one that's getting those pieces. A lot of it comes down to the fact that circular materials is required by Recycle New Brunswick to crack down on blue bags. So we're not an exception. However, we are amongst the most frequent flyer for offenders, I will say. And the piece that's been helpful for us to know is that Eco360 has really good data. So if someone says my bag was not collected because XYZ, there's 1, cameras on the trucks, and 2, they track every rejected bag. So that's helpful. There's a lot of conversations on in terms of, should the stickers change slightly? Should they be more descriptive? What should they say? Make sure that circular materials in the tri-community says the same thing in the southeast. how do all those things kind of play together? So we're having an initial conversation with Eco360 to explore that. Rec and Wellness has booked a date. I don't want to say it on the record because I don't remember it off the top of my head. They've booked a date to have Eco360 come out as well. And they're getting ready for the summer mail out that goes to everybody. So we've already made sure that they'll have space in that for sorting, basically. It is blue bags, and that's the case everywhere. We met with Certain Materials, actually unrelated, but our contract is coming up, so they requested a meeting just to have that conversation. And just to give you like a number, it's anywhere between 50 and 60% of what is in a blue bag is contaminated in the southeast. So the target in the agreement is 4. So we're a little bit shy from 4%.
In some cases, individuals have food containers that they
Yeah.
because there's no.
Or cat litter.
Or cat litter, or, and by that, just the public education of, let's just keep back.
Yeah.
And keep educating, and when I, every second Thursday, get the emails with, and they show me the pictures, Austin, I'm able to get the records, I'm able to go back, it's great. But again, I'd rather be proactive from an educational perspective, that we're meeting it head on and not ignoring that there's a problem, because if you have that kind of percentage, we have a problem.
And sometimes the best is when the rejection stickers just go in another bag and they can see that when they come and pick it up the next week. There's some things that need to be addressed education wise, which also there's historically not been a lot of stickering. So it's a habit
That's
for people to get into. So
The other part, people need to realize that, the waste management folks are human beings.
Mhm.
And when they get
yeah,
harassed at the curbside.
Yeah.
It's not acceptable, and we're probably going to look at the garbage bags a little closer.
eventually.
Anyway,
Eventually.
I just want to bring it up because it is a concern and it's something we're gonna have to address, because at the end of the day, we're all doing an amazing job, and it's just something that it's a small thing that could turn into a big
The
thing.
glory of the municipal world. Applies to happy things and garbage.
I think, on the other side of, at the landfill, if we all want to be conscious of not having to build more cells, we have to also avoid, because what I'm hearing is everybody's now just saying, let's put it in
White bag.
clear, let's put it in clear.
Yeah.
And that's what I said. I said, well, guys, that doesn't help the situation.
Yeah.
No.
But when you have people that go through their garbage because it was rejected and move stuff, or make sure that it's perfect and it doesn't get picked up the second time,
Yeah.
it creates some,
Distrust in the system.
exactly.
That's what, exactly.
We're here to represent the residents, and we need to,
We have to create the trust.
that's right,
We have to
exactly.
educate.
Exactly.
And we'll get there.
100%. And that's a good point too, because the land, like the cells, and the other thing too is that the challenge will be for, if there's that much contamination, a lot of it's going to landfill anyways, because it's contaminating the rest of the bag, right? So there's that education piece that can, and also like, I'll be the first to say, like, when I went to the landfill the first time and saw how the facility operates and what they do, that's eye-opening. So that's kind of one of the questions that we have to talk to them, is like, how can we educate people so that they get into a mindset to not, like, because we can't have it town Eco360 holler against residents, like everyone kind of has to be rowing in the same direction. I think we can get
But I
there.
think that's how they feel right now.
100%.
That's how they
100%,
feel, and the
yeah.
problem is
100%.
just throwing everything in these clear bags
Yeah.
and growing the cells
Yeah.
is not,
It's the why are we
It's-
separating
Right,
garbage?
that's right.
yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
All
100%.
right, thank you very much. Just another update. I wanted to thank the staff and everybody that attended the cultural policy on Daily Break tonight. The kids at the coffee house at the high school did an amazing job, and the town staff as well, so thank you for that. The CAO and myself attended Build Canada Homes announcement in Clareton, where 1,200 homes are gonna be built over the next couple of years, and we had some good one-on-one time with the premier as well as other their members of parliament that hopefully will pay dividends for our community in the future. And again, thank you to the town staff again for the Wellness Expo and volunteers on the weekend. It was very amazing to see everybody out, very professional and well done. Kudos. The CAO and myself attended a policing review of the RSC 7. I don't know what day it was, Thursday or Friday, or Wednesday, last week anyway. Really good session, really good engagement with the RCMP and other municipalities, and some really positive opportunities with them we'll chat about in the near future, but very positive. On that note, we talked about community engagement, community presence being very much needed, and on Saturday at the Lions Club breakfast, an RCMP officer came in, and most people, first question was, what's wrong? And all he was there for was to go around and say hi to people and, you know, smile and do whatever, and people loved it, so kudos to them for the community presence on that. And with that, that's all I have. Anybody have anything to add?
I just echo your comments on the cultural policy unveiling. Performing Arts Centers, they did a fantastic job there, and the coffee house was great.
Yeah.
And the wellness center, it took a long time to get around that small little.
Oh my gosh, I was there for an hour and a half.
Well, you need, because, yeah.
It was good, a lot of great information, a lot of engagement.
All right, so with that, do I have a motion to adjourn? So by Deputy Mayor Cletus,
Second.
we are adjourned.